Never do any of these 5 things after you've had your hearing aids fitted. So hear me out a second. Most hearing aid users think that the hearing aid fitting is the finish line when it comes to optimized hearing aids, i.e. you've had your hearing test, the hearing aids are programmed, and hopefully that's verified using real ear measurements. You walk out of your clinic, and then that's it, perfect hearing. Sorry, wrong answer. In reality, the fitting is just the start, and what you do over the next few weeks can be the difference between hearing aids changing your life or hearing aids that end up in a drawer. So in this very video today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 things that you should never do after having your hearing aids fitted. And more importantly, I'll tell you what you should be doing instead. Now, for context, I'm Matthew Alsop and I run an independent hearing clinic in central London. And I've seen firsthand why some people fly with their new hearing aids, whilst others, let's say, struggle unnecessarily. And if you want to get the best out of your hearing aids, then I definitely think you should press the subscribe button just down here and you'll get some really great advice. Let's rock and roll. To get a feel for some of the issues that you guys experience when you first have your hearing aids fitted, I recently posted this poll on YouTube. But I'm limited to 4 options, so I want to extend the question to any of you watching today. So tell me, what was your biggest problem after you had your hearing aids fitted? Drop me a note in the comments beneath today's video, and this may shape my videos going forwards. Mistake number 1 is to never wear them consistently and only wear them when you think you need them. Yes, this may sound logical, and you may think, well, as I struggle in a restaurant, I'll wear them when I go to a restaurant, or as I struggle with the TV, I'll wear them when I'm watching TV. But I'm telling you, if you make it no further than this part of today's video, and if I've convinced you, or I managed to convince you to wear your hearing aids more often, then it will be worth all of the effort that's gone into making it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying stop watching now, I'm just getting warmed up. But if you only wear your hearing aids in the hardest listening situations, so the hardest listening environments, then your brain just never gets the opportunity to get the easier practice in first. I liken it to trying to run a marathon without doing any training first. You're just not going to finish it. Well, unless you're my friend Ollie. Damn those incredible genes. With hearing aids, you need to build up and you need to maintain your tolerance to that new sound. The people who do best with hearing aids are not the people who wear them just for special occasions. They're the people that build them into their daily life. So my first piece of advice today is, instead of saving them for special occasions and difficult situations, wear them every day. Even when it feels like you don't really need them. That's how your brain starts to accept them as normal. Mistake number 2 is never judge your hearing aids too quickly, and this is probably the most common mistake that I see. Someone has their hearing aids fitted, they walk outside, and suddenly the world sounds completely different. Their footsteps sound louder, a car driving past sounds like it's millimeters away, and when you go to the bathroom, it sounds like Niagara Falls. Even your own voice may sound strange, and your assumption may be that your hearing aids are set incorrectly. But in reality, your ear, your auditory nerve, so the nerve connecting your ear to your brain, and your brain itself have been missing certain sounds, potentially for years. And then all of a sudden, your friendly audiologist turns up, flicks a switch, and introduces all of this sound in one go. So yes, at first, some things are likely to sound sharper than you're used to and louder than you're used to. But that's a good thing. If you walked out and your hearing aid sounded like your normal hearing immediately, then I'm sorry to tell you, it means they're probably not set loud enough. But what I will say is that you also shouldn't suffer in silence. I personally tend to take a very gentle approach when it comes to hearing aid fittings, and would rather that my patients come back and say, Matthew, these are great, but I was hoping for just a little bit more, and I can simply turn them up closer to their prescription, versus Matthew, I've not been wearing them because they've been set too loud, and then we have to start from scratch completely. And I've got one final point on this. Don't make the mistake of deciding after 1 hour or even a week that hearing aids or the hearing aids you're trialing have been a failure. These things take time, and just to be clear, strange is normal, pain is not. If they physically hurt your ears, if they rub, press, or make you relieved when you take them out, don't push through it, let your audiologist know. The third thing that you should never do is skip or underestimate the importance of your follow-up appointments. And in my opinion, this one is huge. I'm telling you now that the fitting, as I mentioned at the beginning of today, is just the beginning of the process. And in my opinion, isn't the most important appointment. Ooh, what a controversial thing to say. For me, the most important appointment is the first follow-up, because I can really find out how the hearing aids have performed in the real world and take both feedback from the patient, so from you, to fine-tune the hearing aid settings, and a lot of you may not know this, but we can also get feedback from the hearing aids themselves. You see, if you walk into a noisy situation and you always turn your hearing aids up, your hearing aids will record that data, and that can be utilized to continue to personalize the hearing aids not only to your hearing loss, but also your preferences and your lifestyle too. So your follow-up appointment is where that feedback gets turned into better hearing aid programming. Now let me give you a practical example of this. A couple of weeks ago, I had a patient that I fitted with a brand new set of hearing aids. And if you're watching this video, I know you found me on YouTube, so if you're watching this video, you know who you are. They came back for their first follow-up and said, yeah, they're okay, but I was hoping for a little bit more. So it happens to me too. Of course, we fine-tuned, we adjusted the clarity, the AI noise reduction settings, and then all of a sudden, the hearing aids sounded like a completely different set of hearing aids. My final piece of advice on this is be patient, it will all be worth it. Mistake number 4 is one that makes people think their hearing aids are broken when they're not. So the fourth thing that you should never do is assume that your hearing aids will always stay clean. Now, why do I say this? Over my decades in audiology, yes, decades in audiology, you wouldn't believe it, I know. Okay, I'm looking a bit worse for wear at the moment with an 8-month-old baby, but over my decades in audiology, I've had a handful of patients calling or emailing within the first 2 weeks of wearing their hearing aids, panicking that they're not working, forgetting that there are wax filters on the hearing aids that need regularly changing. Now, this is the reason that I personally always go through changing wax filters in my fitting appointment. And I wouldn't expect them to get blocked up in the first 2 weeks, but it can happen at the same time. So for some reason, if your hearing aids start working, don't panic and change those wax filters. They can fill with dead skin, it could be wax, it could even be water trapped in your ear after a shower. And the last thing that I'm going to talk to you about today is that some people never get the benefit that they actually paid for. And honestly, this point, it pretty much overrides or overrules everything else that I've spoken about today. Never assume that your hearing aids have been fitted properly just because they've been fitted. Because if this part hasn't been done properly, if the fitting hasn't been done properly, then wearing them every day, being patient, attending your follow-ups, cleaning them perfectly will only get you so far. Now that might sound harsh, but hearing aids are not just taken out of box, placed in your ears, and then magically matched to your hearing. Well, I say they're not, but in reality, that's what happens in 70% of fittings, if you wouldn't believe it, or if you would believe it or not. They're done using guesswork. Now, to ensure that your hearing aids are fitted properly, they need to be properly programmed. But part of that is that they need verifying, and not just adjusted to your hearing loss, but also to your ear canals, your comfort tolerance, your lifestyle, and what you actually need them to do. And this should all begin with real ear measurements. Without measuring what your hearing aids are actually doing inside your ears, there is always the risk that they are either too soft, too loud, or over-amplifying certain sounds, or even simply not giving you the speech clarity that you should be getting from them. So, if you've had your hearing aids fitted, one of the questions that I beg of you to ask your audiologist is, have they been verified using real ear measurements? And if your audiologist is saying that this particular model doesn't need it, I'm sorry to say, but that ain't true. And if you really want to know the importance of real ear measurements and why I do them for every hearing aid fitting, check out this video.